Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are at a crossroads, and it's becoming more and more apparent that the team needs to take a long, hard look at next year's quarterback class. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Tua Tagovailoa. I've been a fan since his days at Alabama, watching him showcase that quick release, his football IQ, and the ability to make plays when the offense is firing on all cylinders. But here's the reality. Liking a player and thinking he's the answer to your franchise's long-term success are two very different things. Tua has undeniable talent, but he also has shortcomings that continue to pop up: his size, durability concerns, and, most importantly, the ability to perform consistently in high-pressure situations. That inconsistency is what has the Dolphins at a crucial point where serious evaluation is necessary. Looking at the Dolphins' situation objectively, the team may have reached the ceiling with Tagovailoa. He played the entire 2023 season without missing a game, which is a huge positive given his history with injuries. That shows toughness and resilience, no question about it. But toughness alone doesn't win division titles or get your team deep into the playoffs. And when the Dolphins were in prime position in December with a 9-3 record, they faltered and eventually lost the AFC East, a division they had a real shot to claim. Now, we can debate how much of that failure falls on Tua versus the supporting cast, coaching decisions, or even bad luck, but the quarterback is always the starting point for accountability. And in those critical games where the Dolphins needed someone to elevate the team, Tua didn't rise to the occasion. That's a problem when you're trying to contend in a league where the margin between winning and losing is razor thin. Last Sunday's loss to the New England Patriots was yet another example of Tua coming up short in late-game situations. When a team is trailing and has the ball in the fourth quarter, you need a quarterback who can lead a game-winning drive, someone who can make clutch throws under pressure and instill confidence in the rest of the offense. Tua hasn't shown that consistently. Sure, he's had flashes. There was that 2022 game against the Baltimore Ravens, and in 2023, he had impressive outings against the Los Angeles Chargers and Dallas Cowboys. But for every success, there's a game where he failed to deliver when it mattered most. Losses to the Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans, and Buffalo Bills in 2023 come to mind, and last week against New England continues that concerning trend. This is why the Dolphins need to seriously consider the quarterback talent coming out in next year's NFL draft. Unlike last year's class, this one is loaded with prospects who could make an immediate impact. The team is in a unique position. They may not have to reach or gamble heavily to get a potential franchise quarterback. Taking a quarterback in the draft wouldn't necessarily mean Tua is immediately replaced. It could create a healthy competition. Think about it. The San Diego Chargers once had both Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers on the roster at the same time. It's not unprecedented to have two quarterbacks push each other to elevate performance, and that might be exactly what the Dolphins need. The question becomes, what are they looking for in a quarterback? Mobility, size, and arm strength are key factors the Dolphins seem to be missing with Tua. A quarterback who can extend plays with his legs while still possessing the physical tools to make all the throws downfield would be ideal. One player who stands out right now is Penn State's Drew Aller. He has the potential to develop into a top-tier starter and could fit the Dolphins' offensive system well. But he's not the only one. Garrett Nussmeier, Lenoris Sellers, and a few other prospects have first-round talent and could make a big difference if scouted and developed properly. The Dolphins need to be aggressive and proactive, not wait until they're backed into a corner. Historically, Miami hasn't exactly been the model franchise when it comes to quarterback foresight. In 2018, for example, they held the 11th pick in the draft and had opportunities to acquire quarterbacks who could push Ryan Tannehill or even take over down the line, including Josh Allen. But the team passed, choosing not to challenge the incumbent quarterback. That pattern has repeated itself multiple times over the years, passing on elite talent like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and others simply because the team felt comfortable with the quarterbacks they already had. While it's easy to criticize in hindsight, the truth is the Dolphins have often prioritized short-term comfort over long-term planning, and it's cost them dearly. Now, the team has another chance, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If the Dolphins truly want to change their trajectory, they need to demonstrate they are willing to make bold decisions. Even if it means making Tua uncomfortable or pushing him out of his comfort zone. This isn't personal, it's football. Teams that have sustained success understand that quarterback competition drives excellence. Allowing Tua to remain unchallenged, despite clear areas where improvement is needed, might not be the path to winning consistently in the AFC East, where the Patriots, Bills, and Jets are all formidable opponents. In addition, the Dolphins need to think beyond just immediate results. A quarterback with a stronger arm and better mobility could elevate the offense to new heights. They could open up play-calling options, extend drives, and create opportunities for the team's talented receiving core and running backs. Tua has talent, yes, but sometimes talent isn't enough. Football is a results-driven business, and when you have the opportunity to bring in a player who can give your team a legitimate chance to compete for the Super Bowl, you take it. The 2025 quarterback class might offer that exact opportunity. Let's not forget the importance of timing. Drafting a quarterback isn't just about picking the right player. It's about creating a system and an environment that maximizes his growth. If the Dolphins wait too long, the class will be gone, and they'll be left in the same position, hoping Tua magically becomes the late-game quarterback he struggled to be. The team's management has to ask themselves tough questions. Are we committed to competing for championships now, or are we content with being stuck in mediocrity? Are we willing to challenge our current starter to push him, or are we going to let comfort dictate our decisions again? It's a delicate balancing act, of course. Tua has shown moments of brilliance, and there's a reason the Dolphins invested in him. But investment doesn't guarantee success. Performance does. And when you're evaluating your quarterback position, performance under pressure, consistency, and the ability to elevate the team when it matters most are non-negotiable. The Dolphins have reached a point where those questions can't be ignored. The clock is ticking, and the window to make a franchise-altering decision is narrowing. In conclusion, the Dolphins are at a critical juncture. Tua Tagovailoa has his strengths, and there's no denying his potential, but the lack of late-game production and concerns about durability and arm strength cannot be overlooked. Next year's quarterback class presents a golden opportunity to acquire a player who could redefine the franchise's future. Whether it's Drew Aller or another top prospect, Miami must be willing to explore these options fully and make decisions based on performance and potential, not loyalty or comfort. Boldness, foresight, and a willingness to shake things up could be the difference between another season of what could have been and the start of a true contender. The Dolphins have been here before, and the question remains, will they finally have the courage to act, or will they let another opportunity slip through their fingers, stuck in the same cycle of mediocrity? The 2025 NFL Draft might just be the moment that defines the next era of Dolphins football, and every fan should be watching closely to see if the front office has the guts to seize it. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Enough excuses. That's the phrase that reportedly echoed through the Miami Dolphins locker room in a moment that insiders are already calling a turning point for the franchise. Sources close to the team have shared that head coach Mike McDaniel and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's top target, wide receiver Tyreek Hill's rumored tension point, along with the rest of the offensive leadership, were summoned for what one player described as a no-nonsense, straight-to-the-point meeting by Dolphins general manager Chris Ross. Imagine a room thick with anticipation, where players are quietly fidgeting, glancing at each other, knowing that today, the excuses that have peppered the season so far may no longer fly. Ross, who has built a reputation as a hands-on executive unafraid to confront tough situations, reportedly delivered his message with a mix of intensity and clarity, emphasizing accountability, focus, and the reality that the Dolphins' window to truly compete is closing fast. Sources say he didn't mince words. He framed the conversation around the need for immediate, tangible change, calling out lapses in execution, preparation, and what he described as half-hearted commitments that have, until now, plagued the team's consistency. Inside sources describe McDaniel, who has always maintained a calm, methodical approach on the sidelines, as visibly unsettled during the discussion. The normally composed head coach was reportedly listening intently, occasionally interjecting with explanations or context, but clearly absorbing the pressure of having the front office scrutinize not just strategy, but culture. According to whispers from the locker room, Ross didn't just address the coaching staff. He looked directly at Grier, emphasizing that roster construction, player utilization, and draft decisions are all interconnected, and that the time for excuses, whether about injuries, scheduling, or player development, was over. Players reportedly left the room with a sense of urgency, some describing the atmosphere as electric and uncomfortably motivating, the kind of environment that signals either a turning point or a breaking point, depending on how everyone reacts. One of the more compelling elements circulating among insiders is how this confrontation may reflect the underlying tension between management and coaching philosophy. Ross, who reportedly prides himself on decisiveness, is said to have framed his points around a simple mantra: accountability. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about whether the culture within the Dolphins is one that fosters excellence or tolerates mediocrity. Some sources suggest that players were particularly receptive to the message because it wasn't couched in corporate speak or vague encouragements. It was raw, direct, and personal. "He looked us all in the eye," one anonymous player reportedly said, "and made it clear that this isn't about blame. It's about ownership. If we want to be serious contenders, everyone has to step up." Rumors are swirling that this meeting could serve as a catalyst for mid-season adjustments, ranging from scheme tweaks to practice intensity, and even potential shakeups in personnel deployment. The narrative around McDaniel is particularly fascinating. In past seasons, he's been praised for his adaptability and for crafting offensive strategies that maximize Tua's accuracy and mobility. However, whispers suggest that Ross's words may force a more aggressive approach, pressing McDaniel to prioritize results over experimentation. Sources indicate that there was a subtle but palpable shift in the room. The usual strategic debates were overshadowed by the weight of expectation, signaling that management isn't just concerned with the how of coaching but the why. The tension between creating a sustainable, long-term culture and demanding immediate performance appears to be at the heart of this confrontation. Some speculate that this meeting could define McDaniel's standing in the franchise, testing whether he can maintain composure under heightened scrutiny or whether cracks might appear under the pressure of an urgent mandate. Meanwhile, whispers about the players' reactions suggest a spectrum of responses. Veterans, accustomed to high-pressure environments, reportedly nodded in quiet acknowledgement, perhaps seeing the meeting as overdue. Younger players, on the other hand, were reportedly wide-eyed, absorbing the stark reality of expectations at the highest level. Grier, standing in the center of the whirlwind, was said to be reflective, listening carefully to Ross's evaluation while internally processing the implications for future decision-making. Rumors hint at some private conversations post-meeting, where staff and players hashed out immediate steps to implement the accountability Ross demanded. In other words, this was not just a one-off confrontation. Insiders suggest it's the beginning of a series of strategic recalibrations that could ripple across the organization. One of the most intriguing aspects of this story, according to sources, is the tone. Ross reportedly didn't aim to humiliate or intimidate, but to confront reality head-on. "There's a difference between yelling and delivering truth," one insider said. The implication is that Miami's leadership recognizes that soft approaches haven't produced the consistency they hoped for. The rumor mill is already buzzing with speculation about potential tactical changes, more aggressive play calling, shifts in player rotations, and perhaps even an intensified focus on conditioning and accountability metrics. Some sources suggest that Ross sees this as a moment to solidify not only a winning team, but a resilient one, capable of navigating the inevitable adversity of an NFL season. Behind the scenes, murmurs about how this could affect locker room dynamics are already emerging. Historically, players respond to tough love in varied ways, and sources hint at a combination of relief, nervous energy, and renewed focus. Some speculate that McDaniel may have a tougher road ahead than initially anticipated. While respected for his strategic mind, he may now be under pressure to deliver results in a way that satisfies both players and the front office simultaneously. The meeting, according to whispers, may serve as a precedent for how the Dolphins handle performance management moving forward. Clear expectations, immediate feedback, and a relentless emphasis on execution. If the Dolphins' season trajectory pivots positively after this, insiders suggest, it could cement Ross's reputation as an executive unafraid to confront reality, while reinforcing McDaniel's ability to adapt under pressure. Even Tua Tagovailoa's reported response to the meeting has become a point of discussion. Sources suggest that the quarterback, often characterized as calm and introspective, took the words to heart, potentially reevaluating how he approaches preparation, communication with teammates, and leadership on the field. Speculation is rife that this moment could spark a renewed sense of purpose for Miami's offense, one that aligns strategic precision with cultural accountability. Rumors suggest that players are now quietly strategizing among themselves, planning how to implement the message without public fanfare. This quiet, internalized response could, according to insiders, be a precursor to a shift in Miami's identity, from a team seeking excuses to a team demanding results. Finally, whispers indicate that this meeting could influence not only the remainder of the current season, but also how the franchise approaches off-season planning. Ross, according to sources, made it clear that mediocrity cannot be tolerated, and that decisions will be measured not by effort alone, but by measurable impact. The broader narrative emerging from insiders suggests a franchise at a crossroads, one balancing talent, ambition, and accountability under a spotlight that never dims. If the rumors are accurate, Miami Dolphins fans may be witnessing the birth of a culture that prioritizes results over comfort, performance over politics, and ownership over excuses. Whether this translates to wins on the field remains to be seen, but the buzz in the locker room, according to sources, has never been more palpable, electric, or charged with expectation. The Dolphins, it seems, are being called to step up or step aside. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.